Welcome back, sleepyheads, to another episode of Sleepy Aliens Perspective. I'm your host, H. Leigh, and I'm really pissed today. So, you guys have probably heard about the lawsuit against Tiffany Haddish and Aries about their childhood grooming allegations. Now, thanks to Lovely T, I did get to see the parody video that they made. And even though we cannot, accuse them of being PEDOs, let's just be logical and have our common sense here. Anyone who is not affiliated or interested or has a modicum of intelligence and self-awareness, they would not make such content, because not only does it endanger a child, but it exploits them, and it also promotes PEDOs. To me, when I saw that video, that was basically candy content for PEDOs, mocking how those interactions often start with children, And if you see the video, the boy is like in his underwear half the time, and they have him moving his body and doing close-ups of his body, and it's so inappropriate. I couldn't even really, I was getting so mad, and it sickened me to my stomach just watching it. So to think that Tiffany and Aries don't have enough common sense to know during the time of assisting with the production of that video that this isn't okay, that this could be really bad, and is it okay that we put this child through this kind of filming content? And of course, a lot of people are like, well, where was the kid's mother? The kid's mom wasn't on set. But here's another thing. Legally, I'm like, they should at least be in trouble for child endangerment and child exploitation, because I don't see how any movie or TV set can get away with that kind of inappropriateness. This isn't what's that? Lolita. Yeah, this isn't 1950 something and we're doing a Lolita sort of shit. No, we know laws, we know what's appropriate, we know the major issues occurring in our country and around the world. And the fact that childhood offenses, it is not only proliferating, but is affecting so many lives every day, and so many voices do not have a chance to speak up or speak out for themselves. I know a lot of the conversation too is this mom of the kids, she wants money now. Fuck it, she should get money. Oh my God, she should fucking take their money, because people need to learn that making that kind of content, promoting that kind of shit is not okay. And if you think this is the first time this has happened, it is not. So the co-creator of Rick and Morty, Dan Harmon, in 2009, he made a parody video of him R.A.P.ing a child, a baby. And this parody video, he said it was supposed to be a parody of Dexter, but instead of killing serial killers, he had to assault babies. And I saw this video. He sneaks through a window, and you literally see him groping and humping and pressing his body against this baby doll that's supposed to be a child. And of course, this really didn't come out to the public until 2013, around the time when Rick and Morty starts and Dan is gaining national name and fame. And what he did, he apologized. He apologized for how inappropriate it was. And Comedy Central apologized too, saying we do not promote this kind of content. But let's think about this. You just apologized. You didn't explain your mental health, your level of intelligence, your wellness. You didn't talk about how you really care about children. You stand against sexual offenses of children. There was no sort of conversation about that. And that's the same thing that we're not seeing from Tiffany and Aries. It's not that logic, that common sense that tells me that you're not a PEDO, that you're not for that shit, that you're not a part of that Holly weird community where that's okay. That's what we need to be hearing from this. But on a larger scale too, I want to note that this is this kind of content, when you see in shows like South Park, where you see like the boys, masturbating, showing their body, or Rick and Morty, there's a lot of inappropriate PEDO, borderline content as well. And then, of course, American Dad as well. And even that show, Big Mouth, it crosses a border where you have kids engaging in sexual acts. It normalizes this shit. It conditions society to think that it's normal, and that's what's dangerous about it. Even the show Pen 15 on Hulu, like the first time I saw that show, I thought it was really funny. I thought it was great. But then in the second season, I realized that these are grown women having these inappropriate acting scenes with children, and that there needs to either be like a fake, an actual adult or someone who's over 18 who steps in and, plays those roles where, we're crossing a borderline of like grooming and normalizing an adult and child relationship, even though in that show the girls are portraying to be like, preteen teenage girls. But this is something, it makes me sick, because I believe that what we're seeing here is like a part of the initiation process into the comedy world, where you have to show that you're down with the get down. I believe it's ritualistic, and I believe it's a part of the Hollywood scene, and especially Comedy Central. And I don't know if you guys remember Cappy Isaacs. He alleged that Seth Green, who, is tied to Comedy Central and has done work for them, he alleged that he was a childhood offender, and I think that's interesting. And I tried to find videos of this skit, but I couldn't find it. But Sarah Silverman, I don't know if Jimmy Kimmel was in it too, but it was an old skit that they did, and it wasn't even tied to like a major show at the time. But it was an old skit of them being like ice cream truck drivers and having kids locked in cages in the back of the ice cream truck. There's all of these little clips and hints that they throw out at us to let us know. It's like they're mocking it in our face, for one, but two, they are making fun of it. They don't have respect for the issue of childhood offense and offenders and trafficking. They don't care in that degree to not promote content that, a PEDO would get off on. There's a lack of extreme awareness there. And it's extremely frustrating that we are not holding them to be more accountable, and we get a fucking public apology. But what we need to know is that you're in therapy, and that you have really taken some awareness and accountability for not only that what you did was inappropriate, but it was unhealthy on your end, and it was socially irresponsible. And I am going to be making a video about this, but the way that we use kids in advertising when it's not necessary, we have to remember that there are hundreds of thousands of PEDOs out there that are, operating in the underground world and getting by every day. And yet we use children in our social media and marketing outside of necessity. And we are basically giving that community free content, It's so irresponsible. I don't know, it's really frustrating to think about. But I do believe that Tiffany and Aries should be held accountable for child endangerment and child exploitation, because that was not appropriate. That content, not only was it not funny, but it didn't have any dramatic or educational value to it. There's no logical explanation as to why they couldn't stop that before it started, right? Or why they had such an idea. But the fact that this is not the first person in the comedy realm to, you know, do such a thing. And we have the co-creator Dan Harmon and, you know, Sarah Silverman, and, you know, the allegation that Cappy Isaac made against Seth Green. I think we have to really take these into account. And even though we love shows like South Park, and I know people love Rick and Morty and American Dad and Family Guy, we have to recognize that the scenes that they use children in, it's conditioning us to think that it's normal to see a child exposed in such a sexual manner or acting in such a sexual way. And when that's normalized, it only proliferates the issue of child offense and PEDOs in society. You know, it's like we're making a comfortable, it's like we are enabling them essentially. It's just really sickening, and it sucks because, you know, we look at these shows for entertainment and, you know, artistic value in some degrees as well, but we also have to hold these creators responsible, and, you know, we have to have fine, clear boundaries when it comes to the use of, you know, a child in production and media. You know, it's just nothing about that was okay. And like I said, you know, no one, you know, can really confirm if like Tiffany and Aries, you know, have a background of like being a PEDO. You know, no one has alleged that yet. But what's clear is that, you know, those videos do promote the patterns that you see in grooming, you know. And also think about the fact that the day that the 14-year-old boy, the day that he was filming that, the mom was not present, but the teenage daughter was there. And if you remember in my early videos about trafficking, and I talked about the Boy Scouts case, basically these men in the 70s were going, these Boy Scout troop leaders were going into neighborhoods looking for poor children and poor children with single moms. So Tiffany and Aries are presenting those classic operational signs of someone who would be a part of that world and engage in that kind of behavior. And that's what we have to remember. But here's another thing as well. They're not the only ones in that industry who, you know, are doing these kinds of things and making this kind of content. They're just taking the heat for it, just like Bill Cosby in such a way, you know? And who knows, like, what they did to, you know, step out of line and make this content, you know, come out to the public now, you know? But, well, you know what? Well, it wasn't done on the dark. It was posted on Funny or Die, you know? It's just really crazy to me. But I think we all need to make an effort to be aware of the shows that we're watching and be aware of when they're crossing boundaries and normalizing, you know, relationships with children and sexually exploiting children, or, you know, normalizing, grooming us. Basically, we are being groomed to think that this behavior is normal and okay, and that's the scary part, you know, because when it comes to the issue of PEDOs, people hate talking about it, and, you know, I get it, it's a lot to stomach and people don't like to talk about it, and people also don't want to acknowledge how this issue is so widespread, because not only are there, you know, millions of offenders involved, but there's billions of dollars. There's, you know, wealthy people who have their hands in this illegal industry. And this kind of content, that's candy content to them. That's the kind of stuff that they get off on, that they think is funny. Because only a PEDO would think that this is going to make people laugh. No. If you wanted to make an educational video to show how, a situation like that could, start, there's just a whole different way they could have gone about that. It could have been like a whole Lifetime movie thing. But that wasn't it. And I don't even think Lifetime would visually cross some of the lines that they crossed in those shots and those scenes in that clip. But I just wanted to get on here and talk about this tonight. And I want people to really be aware and start calling out these actors and creators for crossing these boundaries and presenting content that enables PEDOs in society. And so again, I will state that I do think that Aries and Tiffany should be held accountable for child endangerment and child exploitation and promoting PEDO content, because that's what that was at the end of the day. No normal person would be entertained by that. No, it's a select population that they made that for. And I think they did it to get into that circle that you get into in Hollywood, where not only do you get more roles and monies and comedy specials, And let's be real, personally, I don't think that Tiffany's stand-up is that great, nor do I think that Ari Spears' stand-up is that great. So these are two people who are willing to cross a certain line to maybe have a more advantage in their career. Because, I think truly funny people, like if you think about Kevin Hart, I don't think we've ever heard anything like this coming out about him, because he wouldn't need to create something like that or sell himself out in that way, because he's already such a money bag by nature. He can attract large audiences and he appeals to multiple races, multiple age groups, whereas Tiffany, who is her audience? Sure, it's like black people, maybe black women, but she's not that funny. And Ari Spears, to me, they're just not that funny. I think Tiffany's acting over the past couple years of what I've seen, her acting has improved, and I see her going towards more serious roles. I don't know how Ari Spears is as an actor, but either way, I think they would be two people who would need, social gain, some sort of level of gain in their career, and would be willing to engage in, nefarious acts, to get ahead maybe, And this is all, my perspective, my opinion. I'm not alleging anything about them, but overall, just as a general public court, hey, they have endangered a child, they have exploited a child, and, I believe that they are promoting, PEDO content. Allegedly, if I need to fucking say that. I don't really know all the rules about that, but I said it. Anyways, this is all I have for this video, sleepyheads. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know what you think about this case, or if you have seen any content in any TV shows that you think needs to be called out as well. Please leave a comment about that, because I'd like to build a list, because I'm sure I've missed some stuff out there. And I know a lot of stuff from that Sarah Silverman skit. I was searching for it on the internet trying to find a clip, but I couldn't. So I know a lot of stuff has been scrubbed from the internet. But yeah, be sure to leave a comment. And please, sleepyheads, be mindful of the content you watch and the creators and artists and actors that you give your attention and place value on, because the Hollywood world is not what it seems, and this Tiffany and Ari situation is it barely scratches the surface of what goes on in that world. But have a good night, and I'll talk to you soon, guys.